My name is Eleanor Thompson, and for 10 years, I lived in constant, agonizing pain. Every step felt like shards of glass grinding in my knees. I couldn't walk upstairs. I couldn't kneel down to hug my grandchildren. I couldn't even stand long enough to cook a meal. Doctors told me it was arthritis, that it was just part of getting older, and that I'd need knee replacement surgery eventually. They gave me pills that didn't work and told me to take it easy. But taking it easy meant watching my life shrink smaller and smaller until I was practically a prisoner in my own home. I tried everything: physical therapy, cortisone shots, expensive supplements, knee braces, creams, you name it. Nothing worked. I was 65 years old and felt like my life was over. But then something changed. I discovered something so simple, so natural, that when it started working, I couldn't believe it. Today, just 2 years later, I walk 5 miles a day. I play on the floor with my grandkids. I garden. I dance. I live without pain. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I did, because if you're suffering like I was, you deserve to know there's hope, real hope. It started so innocently. I was 55 years old, working as a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. I'd been on my feet for 30 years, walking miles every shift, lifting patients, rushing from room to room. One day, I noticed a little stiffness in my right knee when I woke up. Nothing major, just a bit tight. I shrugged it off, took some ibuprofen, and went to work. But that stiffness didn't go away. Over the next few weeks, it got worse. Then my left knee started hurting too. At first, it was just in the mornings. I'd hobble around for the first hour, then it would loosen up a bit. But gradually, the pain lasted longer, all morning, then all day, then all night too. I remember the exact moment I realized something was seriously wrong. I was at work, walking down the hallway to check on a patient, and my right knee just gave out. I didn't fall, thank God, but I had to grab onto the wall. The pain was so intense, I couldn't breathe for a moment. Sharp, shooting, burning pain that made me see stars. My supervisor saw me and insisted I go to the doctor. So I did. Dr. Martinez examined my knees, ordered x-rays, and gave me the diagnosis I was dreading. Osteoarthritis, both knees, moderate to severe. He showed me the x-rays, pointing to where the cartilage had worn away, where bone was rubbing against bone. This is causing your pain. The cartilage that cushions your knee joint has deteriorated significantly. He prescribed anti-inflammatory medication, told me to lose weight, and suggested I consider physical therapy. And, Eleanor, he said gently, you need to think about a less physically demanding job. Your nursing career might need to come to an end. I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried. Nursing wasn't just my job. It was my identity. It was how I'd supported my kids after my divorce. It was my purpose. And now it's being taken away by my stupid broken knees. Living in agony. The next 5 years were a slow descent into hell. I tried to keep working, but eventually I couldn't anymore. The pain was too severe. I had to take early retirement at 58. That broke something in me emotionally. I felt useless, discarded, old. The medications that doctors gave me barely touched the pain. I was taking ibuprofen like candy, which started causing stomach problems. They gave me stronger painkillers, which made me foggy and constipated. I tried physical therapy, but the exercises hurt so much I'd go home and cry. The therapist kept saying, you need to push through the pain. But how do you push through when every movement feels like torture? I got cortisone injections in both knees. They helped for maybe 3 weeks. Then the pain came roaring back, even worse than before. My orthopedic surgeon said I could only get those shots every few months because too many would damage the joint even more. Every doctor I saw said the same thing. Eventually, you'll need knee replacement surgery. We can try to delay it, but that's where this is heading. The thought of surgery terrified me. I'd seen enough surgical complications as a nurse to know nothing was guaranteed. Plus, the recovery was 6 months to a year. For both knees? That could mean years of rehabilitation. Meanwhile, my quality of life was disappearing. I couldn't go shopping because walking through stores hurt too much. I couldn't visit friends who lived in apartments with stairs. I couldn't go to my granddaughter's soccer games because sitting on those bleachers, then standing up, was excruciating. I remember one terrible day when my grandson, little Michael, who was 3 years old, asked me to get down on the floor and play cars with him. I tried. I really tried. I slowly lowered myself down, and the pain was so bad I gasped. Michael's little face looked scared. Then when I tried to get back up, I couldn't. I literally could not stand up. I had to crawl to the couch and pull myself up using the cushions. Michael started crying, and my daughter Emma rushed in. The look on her face, this mixture of pity and fear, that hurt worse than my knees. That night I told my husband Robert, I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this. He held me while I sobbed. We'll figure something out, he promised, but neither of us knew what. Desperate measures. When you're in constant pain, you become desperate. You'll try anything. And I mean anything. I spent thousands of dollars on things that promised relief but delivered nothing. I bought every supplement advertised for joint health: glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, turmeric, fish oil, collagen, you name it. I took handfuls of pills every day. Some helped a tiny bit, most did nothing. I tried acupuncture, spent $150 a session, went twice a week for 3 months. It felt relaxing during the treatment, but the pain relief lasted maybe a few hours. I couldn't afford to keep going. I bought special knee braces, compression sleeves, copper-infused wraps that supposedly use magnetic therapy. I looked ridiculous wearing all this gear, and my knees still screamed with every step. I tried topical creams and gels. Some were over-the-counter, some were prescription. I rubbed so many chemicals on my knees that my skin got irritated and started breaking out in rashes. The pain never went away. I even went to a chiropractor who promised he could realign my joints and fix the problem. After 6 months and $3,000, my knees hurt exactly the same, maybe worse. I joined an aquatic therapy class at the local YMCA thinking water exercise might be easier on my joints. It was better than land exercise, but getting in and out of the pool was agony. And the chlorine gave me terrible skin dryness. I tried changing my diet based on various articles I read online. I went gluten-free for 6 months. Nothing changed. I tried the keto diet. Lost some weight, which should have helped my knees, but the pain remained constant. I eliminated dairy thinking maybe inflammation was the issue. Nope. I was so frustrated. It felt like I was doing everything right, trying everything possible, and nothing was working. My husband kept finding new things for me to try. He was so sweet, so supportive, but I could see the helplessness in his eyes. He wanted to fix this for me, but he couldn't. Nobody could. By the time I was 65, I'd basically given up. I was on a waiting list for bilateral knee replacement surgery. The surgeon had said, "You're a good candidate. You're otherwise healthy. We'll do one knee, let it heal for 6 months, then do the other one." I nodded and agreed, but inside I felt like I was accepting defeat. This was my life now. Pain, surgery, more pain, long recovery, and hopefully some improvement. That was the best I could hope for.
The breaking point. Rock bottom. Then came Thanksgiving 2021. My whole family gathered at our house for the holiday. My 2 daughters with their families, my son who'd flown in from California, my sister and her husband. The house was full of noise and laughter and life. Everyone was having a wonderful time, except me. I'd spent the whole morning cooking in severe pain, taking breaks every 10 minutes to sit down. When it was time to serve dinner, I had to ask Emma to bring the turkey to the table because I couldn't carry it. During the meal, I sat there smiling, pretending everything was fine, but my knees were throbbing so badly I wanted to scream. After dinner, everyone went outside to play football in the backyard. It's a Thompson family tradition. Even my 70-year-old sister went out there. But I stayed inside, watching through the kitchen window, washing dishes because at least standing at the sink gave me something to lean on. My granddaughter Sophie, she's 8 years old, came running back inside. "Grandma, come play with us. We need you on our team." I looked at her sweet, excited face, and I had to tell her no. "Grandma's knees hurt too much, sweetheart. You go play. I'll watch from here." Her face fell. "You never play with us anymore, Grandma. You never do anything fun." She didn't say it meanly. She was just stating a fact that shattered my heart into a million pieces. She ran back outside and I stood at that window crying because she was right. I'd become the grandmother who just sat and watched, who couldn't participate, who couldn't get down on the floor or run around or play. I was missing out on their childhoods because of my stupid knees. That night, after everyone had left, Robert found me sitting in our bedroom in the dark. "Elle," he said quietly, "we need to talk." We'd been married for 42 years. He knew me better than anyone. "You're not okay," he continued. "And I don't just mean your knees. You're depressed. You stopped living. You just exist in pain, and I'm watching you fade away." I couldn't even argue with him because he was absolutely right. "I don't know what else to do," I whispered. "I've tried everything." He sat next to me and took my hand. "Then we'll try something new, something we haven't thought of yet. But we can't give up. I need you, Elle. Our kids need you. Those grandkids need you. We'll figure this out."
The unexpected discovery. 2 days after Thanksgiving, I was scrolling through Facebook, mindlessly looking at posts, when I came across something that caught my attention. An old colleague of mine from the hospital, Janet, had posted a photo. She was hiking on a mountain trail, big smile on her face, looking healthy and vibrant. That wasn't unusual, except I knew for a fact that Janet had terrible knee problems too. We'd commiserated about it for years. I remembered her telling me, maybe 3 years earlier, that she was considering knee replacement surgery, just like me. But here she was, hiking up a mountain. I immediately sent her a message. "Janet, I saw your hiking photo. How are your knees? Last I knew, you were in pain like me." She responded within an hour. "Eleanor, oh my goodness, I've been meaning to reach out to you. My knees are completely better. No pain. I can't believe the difference." I stared at my phone screen in disbelief. Completely better? That wasn't possible with osteoarthritis. We video called that evening and she told me her story. She'd been in severe pain, just like me, scheduled for surgery, when a friend told her about something that sounded too simple to work. A combination of specific, gentle movements and dietary changes that had helped her friend's mother with the same issue. Janet was skeptical, but desperate, so she tried it. Within 3 months, her pain had decreased by 50%. Within 6 months, it was gone, completely gone. She canceled her surgery. "I know it sounds crazy," she said. "I didn't believe it would work either. But Eleanor, I'm hiking, gardening, living my life again. No pain. None." She explained the program to me. It wasn't a magic pill or a miracle cure. It was based on research about how certain gentle movements could actually stimulate the body's natural healing processes, combined with reducing inflammation through food choices. The key was consistency and the right technique. "The movements look easy," she warned me, "but they're very specific. You have to do them exactly right every single day. And the diet changes are strict at first. But Eleanor, if you commit to it, really commit, it works." She sent me links to information, including research studies from medical journals. I spent the entire next day reading everything I could find. And you know what? The science actually made sense. The movements were designed to improve circulation to the joint, stimulate synovial fluid production, gently strengthen the surrounding muscles without stressing the joint, and improve flexibility. The dietary approach focused on eliminating foods that increased inflammation and adding foods that reduced it. There were testimonials from hundreds of people, many of them older than me, who'd had dramatic improvements. Some, like Janet, had become completely pain-free. I was skeptical. Of course I was. I'd been disappointed so many times before, but I was also desperate. And unlike all the other things I'd tried, this actually had scientific backing. That night, I told Robert about it. "I want to try this," I said, "one more time. Give it 6 months and really commit to doing it exactly as recommended." He nodded. "Let's do it. What do we have to lose?" The first brutal month. I started the very next day, December 1st, 2021. I remember the date because I marked it on the calendar. The program started with the dietary changes. I had to eliminate all inflammatory foods for at least 3 months. That meant no sugar, no processed foods, no refined grains, no dairy, no red meat. I could eat fish, chicken, lots of vegetables, fruits, whole grains like quinoa and brown rice, nuts, seeds, and healthy fats like olive oil and avocado. The first week was miserable. I had sugar withdrawals, headaches, irritability, exhaustion. My body was so used to the inflammatory foods that removing them felt like torture, but I pushed through. Robert did the diet with me for support, bless his heart. We cleaned out the entire kitchen, threw away or donated everything that wasn't on the approved list, and restocked with whole, fresh foods. Then there were the movements. Every morning and evening, I had to do a specific sequence of gentle exercises. They looked simple, almost too simple. Slow, controlled movements lying on my back, gentle leg lifts, slow knee bends, ankle circles, specific stretches. Each movement had to be done with precise form and breathing technique. The program emphasized that rushing through them or doing them wrong would not work. The first time I tried them, they hurt. Not terribly, but enough to make me nervous. Was I damaging my knees more? But the instructions said some discomfort was normal initially as the joint suggested. So I trusted the process. Every morning I'd wake up, drink a glass of water with lemon, then spend 20 minutes on my yoga mat doing the morning sequence. Every evening before bed, another 20-minute session. I didn't see any improvement the first week, or the second week, or even the third week. I started doubting. Maybe this was just another thing that didn't work. Maybe I was wasting my time, but I'd promised myself 6 months, so I kept going. Around week 4, something small happened. I woke up one morning and realized I'd slept through the night without waking up from knee pain. That had been happening almost every night for years. The pain would wake me up and I'd have to shift positions, sometimes get up and take medication, but I'd slept all the way through. Was it a coincidence? I didn't know, but it gave me a tiny bit of hope. Small victories, the turning point. By week 6, I noticed something else. The morning stiffness wasn't as bad. I could get out of bed without that initial hobbling. I still had pain, definitely, but something was changing. I was almost afraid to acknowledge it, afraid I'd jinx it somehow. At my 8-week mark, I had a follow-up appointment with Dr. Martinez. He examined my knees and looked confused. "Eleanor, you seem to have better range of motion than last time I saw you, and less swelling. What have you been doing?" I told him about the movement program and diet changes. He was skeptical. "Well, there's no scientific evidence that this kind of thing works for osteoarthritis," he said. "But if you feel it's helping, keep it up. Just don't cancel your surgery yet." I left his office frustrated. He didn't believe me, maybe because the changes were still subtle, but I could feel the difference. By month 3, the improvements were undeniable. I could walk around the grocery store without having to stop every few minutes. I could stand at the kitchen counter and cook for 30 minutes without my knees screaming. I could get up from the couch without having to push off with my hands. These sound like small things, but to me they were miracles. Robert noticed too. "You're moving differently," he observed, "more fluidly, less stiff." I'd also lost 15 pounds from the clean eating, which I'm sure helped. Less weight on the knees meant less stress, but it was more than that. The inflammation in my body was clearly decreasing. My skin looked clearer, my energy was better, I was sleeping more soundly. At month 4, something major happened. My grandson Michael, now 6 years old, asked me to play outside with him. Usually I'd make an excuse, but this time I thought, let me try. We went to the backyard, and he wanted to play catch. I stood there and threw the ball back and forth with him for 20 minutes. 20 minutes of standing, bending slightly to catch, moving side to side, and my knees didn't give out. They didn't scream in agony. They ached a bit, sure, but it was manageable. After he went inside, I sat on the porch and cried tears of joy. It was working. It was actually working. The dramatic transformation. By month 6, June 2022, I was a different person.
The constant, grinding pain that had been my companion for 10 years was gone. Not reduced, gone. I'd wake up in the morning and do my movement routine, and my knees felt strong and flexible. I could walk up and down stairs normally without holding the railing or going one step at a time. I could kneel down on the floor and get back up without help. I could stand for an hour cooking dinner without any pain. It was like having a new body. I called Dr. Martinez and asked for new x-rays. He agreed, though I could tell he thought it was unnecessary. When the results came back, he called me himself. "Eleanor, I have to tell you, I'm surprised. Your x-rays still show osteoarthritis, but the inflammation around the joints has decreased significantly, and your range of motion has improved dramatically. Whatever you're doing, it's working better than I expected." I wanted to say, "I told you so," but I was too happy to care about being right. I canceled my knee replacement surgery. The surgeon's office called to confirm my upcoming pre-op appointment, and I said, "I don't need it anymore. I'm not in pain." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Mrs. Thompson, are you sure? Osteoarthritis is a progressive condition." "I'm sure," I said firmly. "If things change, I'll reschedule. But right now, I'm fine." That summer, I did things I hadn't done in a decade. Robert and I went for walks every evening, 2 miles through our neighborhood. I started gardening again, spending hours on my knees planting flowers and vegetables. I played with my grandchildren at the park, actually played, running around, going down the slide with them. I went to Sophie's soccer games and stood on the sidelines cheering for the entire 90-minute game. In August, my daughter Emma invited us on a family camping trip. The old me would have said no immediately. Sleeping on the ground? Hiking? Impossible. But the new me said yes. We went to a state park, set up tents, and spent 3 days hiking trails, sitting around campfires, and making memories. There was one moment on that trip I'll never forget. We were on a moderate hiking trail, about 2 miles in, and we came to a beautiful overlook. The whole family was there. My kids, their spouses, all 5 grandchildren. Someone took a photo of all of us together. When I saw that photo later, I barely recognized myself. I was standing tall, smiling genuinely, surrounded by my family, looking healthy and happy. Not like a sick old woman, like someone who was living.
What I did exactly. The details. People always ask me, what exactly did you do? So let me break it down for you in detail, because if you're suffering like I was, you deserve to know. First, the movements. Every morning and evening, 20 minutes each session. These weren't hard exercises. They were gentle, deliberate, healing movements. I'd lie on my back on a yoga mat and do leg slides, slowly straightening and bending my knee, focusing on smooth motion. Then heel slides, bringing my heel toward my buttocks slowly and controlled. Straight leg raises, lifting my leg about 6 inches off the ground and holding for 5 seconds. Ankle pumps, flexing and pointing my feet to improve circulation. Quad sets, tightening the muscle on top of my thigh and holding. The key was doing them slowly, with full attention, proper breathing, and perfect form. No rushing, no cheating. As I got stronger, I added more movements. Gentle squats holding on to a countertop, side leg lifts, standing knee bends, but always gentle, always controlled, never pushing to the point of sharp pain. Some discomfort was okay, but not pain. Second, the diet. This was crucial. I eliminated all inflammatory foods, no sugar or artificial sweeteners, no processed foods or fast food, no refined grains like white bread or white rice, no dairy products, no red meat, no fried foods, no alcohol. What I ate instead, lots of fish, especially fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines for omega-3s, chicken and turkey for lean protein, massive amounts of vegetables, especially dark leafy greens like spinach and kale, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, bell peppers, tomatoes, fruits, especially berries, which are high in antioxidants, whole grains like quinoa, brown rice, and oats, healthy fats from olive oil, avocados, nuts, and seeds, turmeric and ginger, which are powerful anti-inflammatory spices. I'd add turmeric to almost everything I cooked. Green tea, at least 2 cups a day for its anti-inflammatory properties. I also drink a lot of water, at least 8 glasses a day, because hydration is crucial for joint health. Third, supplements that actually helped. After all my years of trial and error, these are the ones that made a difference. High-quality fish oil with EPA and DHA, 2,000 milligrams daily, vitamin D3, because I was deficient and it's crucial for bone health, 5,000 IUs daily, turmeric with black pepper extract. The black pepper helps absorption, collagen peptides, 1 scoop in my morning coffee for joint support, magnesium, 400 milligrams before bed, which helped with inflammation and sleep. Fourth, lifestyle changes. I prioritize sleep, 8 hours every night. Poor sleep increases inflammation. I manage stress through daily meditation. Even just 10 minutes made a difference. I stayed active throughout the day, not just during my exercise sessions. I'd get up and move every hour, and I stayed consistent. That was the real secret. Doing these things every single day, without exception, for months.
The struggles nobody talks about. But let me be honest with you, this wasn't easy. There were so many moments I wanted to quit. The diet was the hardest part. I loved sugar. I loved cheese. I loved all the foods I couldn't have anymore. There were family gatherings where everyone was eating pizza and cake, and I sat there with my salad, feeling deprived and different. Some family members didn't understand. Just have 1 slice of cake, Eleanor. It won't kill you. But I knew that cheating would set me back. The inflammation would return. So I stayed strong. But it was hard. There were also days when the pain flared up unexpectedly. Maybe I'd overdone it the day before, or maybe it was the weather, or maybe my body was just having a bad day. On those days, doubt would creep in. See, this isn't working. You're fooling yourself. You still have arthritis. You're still broken. I'd have to remind myself that healing isn't linear. There are good days and setbacks. The trend was improvement, even if individual days varied. The movement routine was boring, I'll be honest. Doing the same exercises twice a day, every day for months, it got monotonous. Some mornings I'd wake up and think, I don't want to do this today. I'm tired of this. But I'd do it anyway because I'd committed. I'd promised myself 6 months, and I was going to see it through. There was also the social isolation. I'd lost touch with some friends over the years of being in pain. When I started getting better and reached out, some friendships had faded. That hurt. And some people didn't believe my recovery was real. You must not have had it that bad, one former colleague said when I told her I was pain-free. That dismissal stung. I'd suffered for 10 years, and now my recovery was being questioned? But I learned not to care what others thought. I knew my truth. I knew what I'd been through and where I was now.
My life today at 67. Today, I'm 67 years old and living a life I never thought I'd have again. My knees don't hurt. Let me say that again because it still amazes me. My knees don't hurt. I wake up every morning and walk without pain. I do my movement routine, now more out of habit and maintenance than necessity, though I'll never stop doing it. I'm terrified of going back to where I was. I've maintained the diet about 80% of the time. I'm not as strict as I was initially, but I still avoid inflammatory foods most days. If I have a special occasion and indulge a little, I notice the difference. My knees feel slightly achy the next day, so I stay mostly on track. I'm active in ways I never imagined. Robert and I have taken up ballroom dancing. We go to a class every week and we practice in our living room. Me, dancing! 2 years ago, I couldn't stand for more than 10 minutes. Now I'm doing the waltz and the foxtrot. I volunteer at the hospital again, not as a nurse, but helping at the information desk and visiting patients. It feels good to be back in that environment, giving back, being useful. I play with my grandchildren all the time. I get down on the floor with them. I run around outside. I'm the fun grandma now, not the one who just watches from the sidelines. Last month, Sophie's soccer team needed an assistant coach. I volunteered. Me, coaching soccer. I'm out there at every practice and every game. The kids call me Coach Grandma, and I love it. Robert and I have started traveling. We went to the Grand Canyon last year and hiked partway down. Not the whole way, I'm not crazy, but we hiked for 2 hours through beautiful trails. A few years ago, I couldn't walk through a grocery store. Now I'm hiking the Grand Canyon. We're planning a trip to Europe next year. We want to walk through Paris, explore the Amalfi Coast in Italy, see the Scottish Highlands, all things that require walking and physical activity. I can do it now. My relationship with my body has completely changed. I used to hate my body, especially my knees. They were betraying me, trapping me, ruining my life. Now I'm grateful. My body healed itself when I gave it what it needed. My knees aren't perfect. I still have arthritis according to the x-rays, but they work. They're strong. They carry me through my days without pain. That's more than I ever dared hope for.
The emotional healing. But you know what changed even more than my physical health? My emotional and mental health. For 10 years, I was depressed. I didn't realize how depressed until I came out of it. The constant pain had made me irritable, withdrawn, hopeless. I'd stopped enjoying anything. I'd stopped dreaming about the future because I assumed I didn't have much of one worth living. As my knees healed, my spirit healed too. I started smiling again, really smiling, not the fake smile I'd worn to hide my suffering. I started laughing again, deep, genuine belly laughs. My relationship with Robert deepened. The pain had put a wall between us. I'd been so focused on my suffering that I hadn't been fully present with him. Now we talk for hours. We go on dates. We hold hands and take walks. We're rediscovering each other. My relationships with my kids improved too. They'd been worried about me for years, and I know it was hard for them to watch me suffer. Now when we get together, there's lightness and joy instead of underlying worry. I reconnected with old friends and made new ones. I'm part of a book club now. I joined a gardening group at our community center. I'm living again, not just existing. I wake up every morning with gratitude. Literally, the first thought in my head is thank you. Thank you that I can get out of bed without pain. Thank you that I can walk. Thank you for this new life I've been given. It sounds dramatic, but it's true. I feel like I've been reborn. My message to you, if you're watching this and you're in pain, please listen to me. I know how hopeless it feels. I know how exhausting it is to try thing after thing and have nothing work. I know the despair of thinking, this is just how it's gonna be for the rest of my life. But I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be. Your body has an incredible ability to heal itself if you give it what it needs. I had severe osteoarthritis. Doctors told me surgery was my only option. They were wrong. I'm not saying surgery is never necessary. For some people it is. But I am saying that before you go under the knife, before you accept a lifetime of pain and limitations, try this. Really try it. Not for a week or a month, but commit to it for 6 months. The combination of gentle, specific movements and anti-inflammatory eating changed my life. It gave me back my mobility, my independence, my joy. It can do the same for you. I'm not a doctor or a medical professional. I'm just a regular woman who was suffering and found a solution. I'm sharing my story because I wish someone had shared this with me years ago. I wish I hadn't wasted 10 years in pain when there was a solution I just didn't know about. You don't have to be in pain. You don't have to let your knees or your hips or your back or whatever joint is hurting control your life. You can take control back. It requires discipline, yes. It requires consistency. It requires saying no to foods you love and doing movements